climb to the upper 80s by the weekend. Overnight will be clear with a low of 35. Tomorrow, more sunshine and 68 the high. Wednesday, it's the upper 70s. By Thursday, we're into the low 80s. For the weekend, mid to upper 80s and no rain until maybe Sunday. Brian Leonard with you on point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network on the Monday after quite a weekend around the sports world in South Carolina. Going to talk all about it here tonight with you. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Phil Kornbluth, Pat Daniel here at our downtown Columbia studios from the Point Radio. Chris Bergen about to get on a plane to Florida, heading down to Pensacola for the Sun Belt tournament. And Coastal Carolina doesn't play until Thursday. So he'll be joining us the rest of the week. In fact, they played late. So we may have him with us the entire rest of the week. It is, of course, coming up on March Madness, a phrase I coined back in 1984. Of course, it's been, it's been captured by others and used for their own benefits. That's okay. I'm fine with it. They can use it. I also wrote the song that CBS plays at the end of the Final Four, One Shiny Moment. Did you know that, Pat? Did you know I wrote the music to that? That's all a big fat lie, in case you were wondering. All a big fat lie. But anyway, we go into a March Madness, which will be March Sadness, I'm afraid, for the state of South Carolina, unless somebody rises up. I'd say right now, the best hope from our state would be Furman, the number 2 seed in the Southern Conference tournament, getting into the NCAA men's tournament. We're talking about the men here. I'd say that Furman has the best opportunity. Now, Wofford could win the SoCon tournament as well up in Asheville. South Carolina's loss to Alabama on Saturday was probably the death blow for the Gamecocks getting in at large. I mean, they'd have to do the near impossible, win the SEC tournament, I would say at this point. They needed that Alabama win in the worst way. And they just played terrible basketball for the first part of that ball game. Then all of a sudden they kicked it into gear and then let it slip away from them when they had a chance to maybe grab that game by the throat. They got it from 23 down to 6. Again, they just – you can't have key people not show up in these kind of games and expect to win. And didn't get much from Keyshawn Bryant, didn't get much from Wildens Levesque. In fact, their bigs, once again, their big men combined did not have as many rebounds as the leading rebounder for Alabama, and he was a guard. So, things just did not go well for South Carolina there at Alabama. They turned it over too much, 14 in the first half. Cut it down in the second half, but 19 turnovers, way too much, and Alabama took advantage of that. So, bad loss for the Gamecocks in that they needed that win in the worst way. Good win for Clemson up at Boston College. I mean, the Tigers are playing for pride, and to see that they put together now back-to-back wins for the first time since December. They're actually on a winning streak for the first time since December, and they, without P.J. Hall and without Tyson Hunter, they're going to have a difficult time doing anything. And it's possible Hall has not been practicing. I don't know if he's going to play against. They played Georgia Tech on Wednesday. According to Brad Brown, now it doesn't look like he will play. Hunter Tyson, I think I said Tyson Hunter. Hunter Tyson could be back by the Georgia Tech game this weekend as well. So now the Tigers trying to get a little bit healthy as they head into the ACC tournament uh, up in Brooklyn next week. But I mean, they'll have to win the ACC tournament to get into the postseason. Maybe any kind of postseason. Even the NIT might be out of their reach. Winthrop, I should mention Winthrop. Got a text here to mention Winthrop. Yeah, in the Big South. Excuse me. That could be a possibility, a pretty good possibility. Winthrop's had a good year, and as they get ready to go into their tournament, they'll be one of the favorites in that league in their postseason tournament coming up. Let's see how things ended up in the Big South. I know Charleston Southern had a miserable year this year, and Winthrop at 14-2 and 21-8, the number one seed. Gardner Webb 11-5. Upstate had a real good year, 10-6. Those are your top three teams in the South Division of the Big South. Then you have Longwood, which was 15-1. So I guess Longwood is actually the overall number one seed. Longwood and then Campbell. So Longwood and Winthrop, the top two in the Big South, probably the two you have to look at there. So Winthrop would have a chance to make the tournament. So we shall see if Winthrop or anybody else from the state happens to put it together and make it to the NCAA tournament through their own postseason tournaments. Excuse me. got a little cough here. As far as the women go, South Carolina, of course, a big winner yesterday down in Oxford, and they, this is a freight train that I don't see anybody slowing down till they cut down the nets. They look as strong as ever. They look hungry, and they look poised to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And they'll be able to play those first two games in Columbia and then go on from there. And they won't have to go very far. I think Greensboro is the next step after that. I think it's Columbia and then Greensboro for the NCAA women's tournament in this part of the world. So very convenient for the USC women there. A lot of Gamecock fans will be able to travel and give them that home court advantage. So right here in Columbia and up in Greensboro. So look for the USC women to make it to the Final Four, and see no reason why they won't be cutting down, barring catastrophe, injury, and stuff like that. First, the SEC tournament, of course, and they play their first game on Friday as the regular season champs once again. And Leah Boston probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year and the National Player of the Year, I would think. Baseball over the weekend. Got a chance to take in the South Carolina doubleheader on Saturday, and they took care of business against George Washington. Andrew Eister continues to swing a very hot bat, and the Gamecocks do have some pitching issues as they look ahead to this weekend series with Clemson. The base brawl here in the Palmetto State, South Carolina, Clemson, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. James Hicks had to leave his start with soreness, is what Coach Kingston said after the game. He started the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday. Of course, they're already without some other pitchers, including one of their Bostic, one of their expected starters. I don't think he's expected back this weekend. So, I mean, the Gamecocks could be down two of their expected starters going into this weekend series against Clemson. So that'll be tough there for them, while Clemson's pitching has been outstanding thus far. They're coming off a sweep, of course, of Hartford over the weekend. Now, Hartford's not much to write home about, and Clemson put 28 on the board in the last game of that doubleheader on Saturday. Boy, that's something tough to sit through. But the Clemson pitching has been really, really strong to this point. But both will test each other this weekend for sure, beginning at Founders Park in Columbia on Friday, and then Segra Park on Saturday in Columbia, and then up at Clemson at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. And it should be, let's face it, the two teams are, in terms of the national perception, they're not where they used to be. They're not where we're used to seeing them as nationally ranked teams. It wasn't too many years ago these two teams were meeting as top 10 teams And national baseball writers had to come to these games because it was the great matchup. It was the great rivalry. And from a baseball standpoint, it's still probably the best college baseball rivalry in the country in terms of the attention and, excuse me, people selling out the parks and talking about the game and being excited about the series being here. And so, from that standpoint, it still hasn't lost its luster. I mean, all three games will be sold out. There'll be a huge fan fest in Columbia at Segra Park outside prior to the game on Saturday. And so it's the interest in the series remains extremely high. But the teams have slipped. Even though South Carolina made the tournament last year, Clemson did not. In the national perception, they have. So it's going to be a case here, basically, where both teams are out of the primary top 25 rankings as they face each other. And they're playing for, well, not only the state pride, but the winner will certainly get a boost here in the early season and some confidence and some momentum, of course, going forward. But keep in mind, as the coaches like to point out, while the series is great to win, they both want to win it. The series does not define the season for either one. Whereas last year, Clemson won the series, but South Carolina went to the NCAA tournament and Clemson stayed home. And the previous year, South Carolina won the series. And was it the previous? Let's see. Was it 2020 they didn't play? Or did they play in 2020 before COVID? Was that 2019?
2020 they played, I believe, somewhere around 15, 20 games, give or take, before the season was halted.
Okay, so they played the series.
Correct.
Before that, yeah. And South Carolina won that series, I believe.
I'll double check right now. I thought Clemson had won it, but we'll see. I'll find out right now.
No, I think Clemson won last year's series, if I'm not mistaken. So my point is, and the coaches will tell you this, we're going to hear from the coaches this week, that, it's important to win the series. It's great to win the series. It doesn't define their season because there's obviously so much season left to be played. It's like the basketball game. The basketball game is great and it's important to win it, but it doesn't define the season for either team when they play it so early in December. So looking forward to that coming up this weekend.
Yeah, back in 2020, they did play at the end of February, and Clemson did win. Clemson won the opening game 7-1 in Columbia. South Carolina won the game at Segra Park, which just like they'll be doing this year, 8-5, and then Clemson won the tiebreaker on Sunday, 5-2.
All right, but last year, was it Clemson also? You have that in front of you? I thought it was Clemson last year.
Last year,
2021.
I'm looking. So it looks like they did not play 3 consecutive games. South Carolina won. South Carolina won the Saturday game and the Sunday game. The Saturday game went to 11 innings, and South Carolina won 3-2. South Carolina won the Sunday game 8-7. Surely they played a third game. Oh, that's right. They played a third game later in the season last year, and that was.
That's right, because we had a rain out. Right? Wasn't there a rain out or something?
And then Tuesday, May 11th, they played the third one. Clemson did win that game. But South Carolina won the series last year. Clemson won the series 2 years ago.
Gotcha. Okay, so we look forward to seeing what happens when the two get together this weekend. Should be a lot of fun. All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. Of course, we had a really good race out at Fontana yesterday. Fontana, California, NASCAR's second race of the season, coming off the Daytona 500. So another good race on the NASCAR scene. Really thought it was a good race. Very competitive race. A lot of interesting twists and turns in the race yesterday. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $4.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund scholarships and grants for South Carolina students. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at sceducationlottery.com/education. Wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Get a break, get the frog out of my throat. We'll continue. We'll take the calls on the other side.
Show Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Coming up, we'll hear from Brad Brownell and Frank Martin, coaches, after their meetings with the media today. Today was the media day down in Harbortown for the RBC Heritage, and had the great pleasure of going down and playing the golf course today. And the golf course is in absolutely beautiful condition, though I left a few divots in there that might show up on CBS and the Golf Channel when the tournament rolls around in April. I'm hoping that the grass will recover from some of the damage that I personally did and other members of the media. Small group, but we went out early this morning and had a terrific time. They have extended a couple of the tees on the par fives there at Harbortown to make them play a little bit longer. Number two, the tee box is going to be, if you're familiar with number two, it's a par five, and it is already 502 yards. It's going to play 550 yards, I think, now from the back tees when the pros play it. And actually, if you are familiar with the tee box, the current tee box kind of backs up to a street. The new tee box for the pros is going to be across the street. They're going to be hitting over the street and through a very tight chute of trees and very tight fairway. And then they also have added some distance to the par five, number five as well. So number two, number five, tee boxes for the pros are being backed up a little bit to make it play just a little bit longer, something that the PGA Tour signed off on for the golf course. And they're going to be implementing that beginning this April with the RBC Heritage, brought to you by, presented by Boeing. Steve Wilmot, who is the tournament director, will join us at 7:30. Stuart Sink was there today, the defending champion. We had a chance with some others to talk to him, and he had some very interesting things to say about Phil Mickelson when we talked about that situation. So we'll bring that to you a little bit later on. Again, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. Our poll question of the week on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and our Twitter at SportsTalkSC, as you might imagine, has to do with the baseball series and who's going to win it. So 174 votes are in. 46.6% have South Carolina winning it 2-1. And 36.2% have Clemson winning it 2-1. 9.2% have the Tigers in a sweep, and 8% have USC in a sweep. So pretty doggone even. So overall, you add it up, you got about 45% of the votes going Clemson's way and 54%, about 55% going South Carolina's way. Could go, obviously, it's a baseball series. It could go either way. Whoever's going to get the best pitching. However, considering South Carolina's pitching situation right now, with the, we know one of the starters, one of the projected preseason starters is out, and the possibility of a second one. Haven't heard anything more on James Hicks and how serious that soreness was when they pulled him after in the third inning the other day. How serious that injury was. If it's going to keep him out this weekend, that means that they'll have to go deeper into their depth, which eventually, of course, cuts into your bullpen availability as well. But that opening game matchup on Friday should be an outstanding pitching matchup from two guys who've been throwing it really, really well. And both teams have a lot of offense, and they both have some individuals who are going real well, like Eister for South Carolina, Wimmer for South Carolina. Braswell's been outstanding. Clemson, of course, Grace has been terrific, as you might expect. Hawkins has been really, really good for the Tigers. And he scored 28 runs in one game. You got a lot of people getting hit. So we'll break it down and talk more about it as the week progresses. Right now, though, let's get to your phone calls. The phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Billy in Somerville is with us first tonight. Billy, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Good. How are you, Phil?
Doing great. Good to have you with us.
I got a basketball question for you.
Sure.
With two games left with South Carolina schedule on Frank Martin, say they go 18-12 and they get in the SEC tournament, which they're going to anyways. Or do you think his contract will get extended, or does it have to do with the G.T. Jackson situation and everything else, as far as him possibly getting another year or two? Or do you think his job's in jeopardy right now?
I think if what you say happens, I mean, they end up with another win and
Right.
and maybe win a game in the SEC tournament and get to a postseason. I think you'll see something done with his contract in a positive direction. I think you'd have to, especially if he can, make a very strong argument that showed me some love here and show that I've got the confidence of the administration. Then I can show this to a very important recruit who's hanging out there, who probably is kind of waiting to see what happens in this situation right after the season to kind of see what South Carolina happens to do with Frank Martin's contract. So, I would think that if that kind of ends up that way, you know what, the way the Gamecocks are right now, I mean, they should beat Missouri at home tomorrow night.
Exactly.
Okay? They should. I think they're going to get in the NIT at the worst. Now, some things could happen. I mean, the NIT, the teams that are in one bid leagues, the champions get an automatic spot in the NIT in case they don't make it to the NCAA tournament. If you have a plethora of those, that could make it awfully tight. But if things go according to script, I would think that right now South Carolina is a pretty safe bet for the NIT.
And how would you grade it from? I know COVID was a kind of bad year last year for the basketball teams all the way around, but coming into the season, what they were predicted to do and the way they are right now, do you think they've overachieved at all, just like the football team this year, or do you think it's been an underachievement?
Oh, no. I mean, they definitely have overachieved. Again, you're talking about a team that won, 6 games last year?
Yeah.
And they were not picked high. I think the preseason ranking for them might have been 11th in the SEC, somewhere down towards the bottom.
13th, actually.
Was it 13th?
13th.
So, yeah, they have definitely overachieved. I mean, right now they're the number 8 seed. If the tournament being played today, they'd be the number 8 seed. They still have an outside shot at number 5, but, I mean, they'd have to probably win their last 2, and then you'd have to have some people lose ahead of you. You got Alabama's ahead of them, and LSU and Florida. So they need some help. That's why that Alabama game was so important. But most definitely, if things finish up with 18 wins after 6 the previous year, really, if they can get to 18 wins, now the way it stands right now, if they're the 8th seed, they play the 9th seed. That means they play Mississippi State in the first game on Thursday of next week, which is not an automatic W for them. As we've noted, that's a tough matchup problem for them, especially when the Gamecock big guys don't rebound, as they didn't against Alabama. So, But yeah, I think the bottom line answer to your question is probably will do something with this contract in a positive way. They might go back and instead of what they have now with the buyout situation being done like it was after last season and no years added, or no, they or I'm sorry, no money added. They extended him after last season, years wise. Um, they can go back now and throw some more money at him, show the appreciation sort of thing, and say you're our guy, and see if that helps him in the recruiting battle that he has going on for the number one player in the country. All right, thank you for your phone call. We appreciate it. We'll continue with your calls after the break. We'll hear from Martin and Brad Brownell and Stuart Sink all coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Another week of very warm temps as we climb to the upper 80s by the weekend. Overnight, we'll be clear with a low of 35. Tomorrow, more sunshine and 68 the high. Wednesday, it's the upper 70s. By Thursday, we're into the low 80s. For the weekend, mid to upper 80s and no rain until maybe Sunday. Brian Leonard with you on Point Local Weather.
What can I possibly do to make this stressful time a little better? Here's one thing I found. It's a small thing, a simple thing, a remarkable thing. Smile. You can share a smile from more than 6 feet apart. You can share it socially with the whole world. In fact, right now, I'm smiling at you, and I hope you're smiling back, because smiling is easy from PassItOn.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. The United States has announced it is expelling 12 members of Russia's UN mission, accusing them of being intelligence operatives engaged in espionage. The U.S. mission to the United Nations said in a statement Monday that the Russian diplomats, quote, have abused their privileges of being of residency in the United States and by engaging in espionage activities that are adverse to our national security. The mission says the expulsions have been in development for several months and are in accordance with the United States agreement with the United Nations as host of the 193-member world body. Ambassador Vasily Nebensky said the expulsions are a gross violation of that agreement, as well as the Vienna Convention governing diplomatic relations. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 166 points. This is SRN News.
Oh, good, you're home. I need your help.
Doing what?
Replacing our old light bulbs with these new energy-efficient LEDs.
Where did you get these?
Dominion Energy. I ordered direct from their online store. LEDs for every room, all at huge discounts.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. And my 15-bulb order got us free shipping.
That sounds too good to be true.
See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is, so here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Service, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Imagine a hot, fresh pizza just the way you love.
Oh, baby. At Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, we're all about the love.
Our pizzas start with hand-tossed spring water dough. We then add the freshest toppings and bake it all
with love, baby.
Salads, hoagies, and beer from around the world, too. Come enjoy the taste you love at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With love.
Pat Daniel here at our studios in Columbia. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. USC has announced that C.J. Wines, senior right-hander, will start for them tomorrow night against Appalachian State up in Charlotte. Jason Kometzer, a senior right-hander, will start for Appalachian State. And let's see if there's any other news in here about any pitching stuff with the Gamecocks. No, that's about it that we have right now from the Gamecocks. So we'll hopefully hear from Mark Kingston later on this week. Maybe he'll have an update about his pitching situation for the Clemson series. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Some breaking national news. This is something we talked about last week after Art Briles was hired at Grambling State, and we wondered, would Grambling State be able to withstand the scrutiny, the heat, the criticism it was going to receive from all corners about that hiring, Pat? Apparently they could not, or apparently Art Briles could not.
Yeah, it appears that that is not going to happen. And remember, this came this morning. Hugh Jackson, new head coach there, released a statement via his foundation in support of Art Briles and in support of the hire, and saying that he had his full confidence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, fast forward 6 hours later, and Art Briles has released a statement resigning as the offensive coordinator for Grambling. And in his statement, he said, "Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of your coaching staff at Grambling State University. Unfortunately, I feel that my continued presence will be a distraction to you and your team, which is the last thing that I want. I have the utmost respect for the university and your players." Signed, Art. So that all changed within 6 hours, and one noticeable statement that was made, or notable statement made between those 6 hours, legendary Grambling quarterback Doug Williams, who then, remember, went on and won Super Bowls with the Redskins, now Washington football team, but forever the Redskins. He said he came out saying that he could either resign gracefully or that he would be forced out, and the choice was essentially up to Art Briles. Now, when you have one of your biggest faces of your football program's history speaking out against it, that's going to carry some weight.
No question about it. And I think this probably puts the dagger in Art Briles as far as coaching in college. I mean, could he go to the NFL if somebody wanted him in the NFL? Could they withstand the heat and the scrutiny and the criticism? Apparently nowhere in college can he find a place. And, of course, he had an issue when he was coaching high school after he left Baylor, too. So this probably has to do it for him, I would think. I mean, they tried to – nobody saw this coming at Grambling State. I don't think any of the national reporters had this in advance until he was announced at Grambling State. I don't think anybody had it in advance. And, you know, they couldn't deal with the repercussions of hiring him. I would imagine that no college would hire him. I mean, nobody can withstand the social media backlash and the public scrutiny, I guess. And you the problem here is, for me, is that forget what Art Briles did, and you can draw your own conclusion about that. But you had to know, if you're Hugh Jackson and the administration at Grambling, that this was going to be the case, that there was going to be a lot of negativity, and you had to make a judgment. You had to make a decision before hiring him that you were going to have his back, and you were going to stand tough through all of it, and you weren't going to let outside pressure force you to make a change. That has to go to the top, from the president through the board, through the AD, to the coach, head coach, on down. And so how could you make that hire and then, not have his back, so to speak? Not that he deserves it. I'm just saying, how could you make that hire and not stay with it for, after a week, knowing how tough it was going to be? And I wonder how Hugh Jackson, feels about it after he makes this big splashy hire. It didn't help, of course, that for their standpoint, that Doug Williams came out so opposed to it, because he is, I guess, what you would consider the living face of Grambling football, since so many of their great players and their coach, Eddie Robinson, have passed away. Probably Doug Williams is the guy there that carries that torch. And when he says something about it, it speaks volumes. So I'm just a little surprised that you would make that hire knowing that you're going to get slammed at every corner, and you couldn't take it. You couldn't stand up to it. That's what surprises me.
Totally agree with you. It seems like, especially in this day and age, with whether you want to call it quote unquote cancel culture or holding people accountable, whatever your personal opinion on the subject is, we all have seen enough situations in the last 3 to 5 years where if you have something this damning from your past, the general public is not going to allow you to get a new job within that field without facing some sort of public backlash. And then as an entity that's hiring such an individual, you have, to your point, you have to know that going in. There's no way at this point these major companies or programs aren't aware of that or think that they are somehow not going to fall upon those same kind of recourse from the public. And remember, he also was hired in the Canadian Football League back in 2017 to be the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, or I'm sorry, as an assistant coach for them. And that didn't last, but I think a couple days as well before he was forced to resign there. He ended up going and coaching in an Italian football league that I don't think a single American had ever even knew existed prior to that. It's called the Italian Football League. Gilfi Forense was the team. So, yeah, it just seems like this. He's 66 years old. Can't really see him getting any more opportunities after this.
I mean, listen, 66 years old, you all just go sail off into the sunset.
Not what I'm saying. It's very young, but for
no. I'm just saying, I know ego-wise you want to get back out there and show what you can do, but why do you want to put your family through this every time? Your son has a great reputation, right? His son has a great reputation, has picked up on his offense, and is highly recommended and highly coveted by head coaches, and will probably be a head coach somewhere one day, I would imagine. Every time your name, Art Briles Sr., I mean, you're a pariah in the coaching world. And every time your name comes up with somebody and somebody wants to hire you, this is going to happen. It has happened repeatedly. Why do you continue, and why do schools continue to do it? If you're not going to stand behind him? That was my point. Why would Grambling hire him and not make the full commitment to stand behind him? Because you hired him, you must have felt like it was okay to hire him. Why don't you stand behind him now?
I'm with you, and I might even take this a step further, Phil. Hugh Jackson, is his job now in jeopardy? Will he be the head coach at Grambling a week from now? And where I'm taking this from is, again, this statement released via Hugh Jackson and the Hugh Jackson Foundation today. It was very much in the defense of Art Briles and the hire. Just a few key points from it. If anybody out there, I would recommend, do a Google search, find this, read it for yourself, call us in with your opinion. He mentioned forgiveness. We believe that all are deserving of forgiveness, and without it, healing can't resign. Redemption. Redemption follows forgiveness. Going from surviving an experience into thriving through new experiences requires a restoration of faith and an opportunity for improvement. And then enlightenment. It is our own experiences that give us the wisdom to teach others how to live in a world of respect and honor. He then closes with his closing paragraph asking people to please not bring up his past at Baylor because that may, quote, trigger victims of his. So That just seems like a backwards type statement. He wants the public to not remind victims of this. Shouldn't we be trying to support those victims and not throw our brows into their faces in the first place? It just seems, I don't know, it seems almost like you're, I don't want to say victim shaming, but you're kind of defending the perpetrator as opposed to the victim. It just seemed a little backwards, and that would make me just, I can't help but wonder if there are going to be any negative ramifications for Hugh Jackson now as well.
All right, phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Athletics got a story here. I haven't looked at it yet, but it's a Frank Martin, Dawn Staley contract comparison sort of deal. Just the headline: last year, Frank Martin received a contract extension that would pay him $3.2 million for this season. Dawn Staley wanted to go for equal pay. The rest is history. So this is a story written by Chantel Jennings, and looks like it's a typical athletic story, very, very long and detailed. So I'm not going to sit here and read it, word for word, but it's talking about Staley's contract negotiations that took 6 months, $22.4 million over 7 years, averaging out to $3.2 million a year. The same Martin will make this season, only Staley has a longer guarantee. So I think the point, if I can just conclude from that, the point I think she was trying to make was that, or is making, that Dawn Staley has worked her way up to where she's making the same money as the male basketball coach at South Carolina, and deservedly so, in the writer's opinion. All right, let's go back to the phones. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Here on Sports Talk, we're going to hear from Frank Martin coming up. Also, Brad Brownell. Also, Stuart Sink. I think you'll enjoy, if you're a golf fan in particular, maybe you're just a casual fan, fringe fan, but we get into stuff about Phil Mickelson and the PGA Tour here. I think you'll enjoy that coming up. And Steve Wilmot, the director of the RBC Heritage, joining us live at 7:30. Let's go to Sam in Charleston. Sam, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Doing fine.
Hey, I was starting a long conversation, if that's okay, if you have time.
I have to be short. Have a short conversation.
Sorry. I'm sorry. So, I just like to know the prediction of the game of the Charleston Cougars versus Hofstra tonight. What do you think about the projection will be? I think if you put it this way. If the Charleston Cougars win this game tonight, do you think it's possible to go to March Madness and punch their ticket? Because I will punch my ticket to the DC because I'm going, because I got to support my team. So this is the last game of the season. And I want you, Phil and Cornbread, to talk about this week. What do you think about the future of the Cougars to win over Hofstra tonight? And what's the prediction of it?
All right. Thank you very much. I predict a Hofstra win, and Charleston would have to win the CAA. That tournament begins on Saturday, I think, or later in the week. I think it's Saturday. They're 8-9 in the league, 16-13 overall. So, yeah, they'd have to win their tournament to get in. Hofstra is one of the better teams in the CAA at 12-5, 20-10. So I would go with the Flying Dutchman of Hofstra.
And Hofstra won their first matchup this season, which was in Charleston. They won that 76-73. It was a great game, but they did win.
All right, Sam, thank you for the phone call. Let's hit a break here on Sports Talk, and we'll be back to hear from Frank Martin. Syracuse plays at North Carolina tonight. SC State will be playing at Howard tonight. And that is it for games involving South Carolina teams. We got some baseball to check on. Coastal Carolina was playing a game this afternoon. We'll update that score for you and see if there's anything else of local interest. We'll do that after we come back from the break. No, I see the College of Charleston beat Wagner 7-5, for example. We'll be back. We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the hunters, Major. What do the hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career. Just like Kristen, your passion is our purpose.
Baseball team that they won today since they didn't play today. I read an old score. So anyway, Cougars, I gave you a win that you'd already won. At least I'm thinking positive thoughts about you. But I do know Coastal Carolina did beat Ball State today 9-6 to improve to 7-1, 9-5-2 for Coastal, 6-6-2 for Ball State. One other baseball score of note here, UTSA. Texas San Antonio beat Stanford today. Number 3 Stanford beat them 6-5. UTSA is 7-1. Stanford 6-2. They must be pretty good. I think they are the Road Runners, UTSA. All right, South Carolina basketball. And by the way, how many mistakes is that for me so far tonight? That's at least 5. I'm having a tough night because I've been traveling all day. Got up early. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying I'm not bringing it. I got to start bringing the heat. So that's at least 5 mistakes. How many have you made for a Monday?
I will admit I made one, did not correct yet. When you were asking about South Carolina's preseason rankings, it was weird. I found a CBS that claimed they were ranked, CBS article that they were preseason ranked number 13 by beat writers. But then on the SEC's actual website, it clearly says 11th. So that you were right. They were ranked 11th according to SEC writers in the preseason.
Here's a quote in that story from Dawn Staley, and they put it out front in their tweet. Quote, these 3 words always come up, fair market value. So where's the market for the type of coach I am? I don't settle. I'm not going to settle. You're not going to use those 3 words. End quote. Staley talking about her contract negotiations at South Carolina. This looks like a very interesting story that I'll have to read later on in The Athletic. And imagine if Dawn Staley, when she wins the national championship this year, right? Even if she doesn't, but they should win the national championship this year. They may have to push her to $4 million. I mean, will she go back and will they have to go back and redo her contract and push her to like $4 million would be the next obvious stopping point. If you're at 3.2, you win a national. Of course, she's got some bonuses, of course, will kick in as they continue to add the hardware. But I'm just saying, from a contract standpoint, they might push her to $4 million. Of course, they might push Martin up to $4 million after this year. We shall see. Let's go to Frank Martin as he talked with the media today via Zoom, recapping that loss to Alabama and looking ahead to senior night tomorrow night against Mizzou.
Yeah, disappointed that we didn't play better, but nothing to hang our head about. We've got a real good team, and Alabama's real good. At home, they're really good, and senior day, sold out building. They played with unbelievable emotion, and we got the version of Alabama that beat Gonzaga and beat Houston, and they're known for their 3-point shooting, but they actually are 12th in the league in percentage at 29%, and they basically had a game where the ball went in the basket for them, and we battled in the second half, but we dug too big a hole to start the game. But with that, excited for Senior Day. Excited for an incredible group of guys that have come in here, and whether it's Jermaine and Keyshawn, and that have been with us for 4 years, and that stayed, and they have fought their tails off to continue to build our program. And it's easy to judge them on last year. That's a lazy person's observation. How about judging them on the year before, where we won 18 and we're right there to go to the NCAA tournament, and then judging them on what they've done this year to stick together and put us in a place where we got a chance to finish 500 or better in league play again. So it's and then you add all the transfers, the James Reeses and AJ Wilson, obviously my son. They're all, a couple of those guys have exhausted eligibility. A couple of them still have eligibility, but we figured we honor them this year, just in case they choose to get degrees and pursue careers after being in college for 4 years. So it's excited for that night, and excited for another opportunity to play with our guys.
Frank, I know in the past this season you've mentioned, going up against some of these teams that are very good defensively, but having the chance to go back and watch the film specifically of this last game against Alabama, was there anything specific, having an opportunity to talk with some of the players? Was it just trying to maybe do too much at times? Was it just maybe just poor execution? I mean, where were some of the things that especially in the first half, before they were able to get things going a little bit in that second half and you guys made that comeback?
We were just sloppy with the ball. Alabama dug into us and guarded us, and we struggled to run our half-court offense consistently. But the one thing we didn't do is we just turned the ball over. And the one thing you can't do against Alabama is turn it over. They play too many guards, and especially at home, and the emotion that building had going in. That place was packed, and they knew what they were playing for. We knew what we were playing for. We were playing for sole possession of 5th place, and their fans had their back, just like our fans had our back against Mississippi State, the couple days before. And it just kind of got away from us, and turnovers was the biggest problem. We had some balls that we had to catch that we fumbled. We had plays that we had to make, we didn't make, and that's the journey of sports, man. Sometimes you make plays, and sometimes you put yourself in a place to make plays, and unfortunately it doesn't work out. And for us, in that first half, it just didn't work out.
You mentioned Wildens after the Alabama game. Just what have conversations kind of been like with him over the course of the last couple weeks, and what can you do as a coaching staff or him individually to kind of get him back going to where he was at the beginning of league play?
Yeah, I'm out of, I don't know what else I can visit with him about. I know my staff spends a lot of time with him. I know I have. He's a great young man. He works his tail off. He's gotten himself into a funk, and he's averaging more fouls than rebounds and blocks per game over the last half dozen games, and that's not good. That's not good. It's I can deal with players that the ball's not going in the basket for them and things of that nature, but the fact that he's just doesn't. I mean, he's not even coming close to getting a rebound, and that's disappointing. And but with all that said, it's our job to figure out a way to continue to guide him and keep throwing him out there and encouraging him. And he's a young man of tremendous character. He's got to, maybe making a couple shots in the second half against Alabama, maybe picks up his spirit some, because we really need him to help us coming down the stretch here.
All right, Frank Martin talking to the media this morning on a Zoom call. We'll hear from Brad Brownell of Clemson in the next hour. Have recruiting for you as well. Stuart Sink, good stuff from him coming up. Steve Wilmot from the RBC Heritage. Busy hour number 2 coming your way. We'll be back. Okay, that would be mistake number what for you tonight, Pat?
Oh my God, this is an embarrassment.
We still have more time.
I got Chris in here. So I need to explain myself to our listeners out there. We have hard breaks, 2 an hour, one at the midway through the hour, one at the end of the hour, and it's at the exact time. I have a timer that reminds me, and for some reason I set it a minute early. So that's embarrassing. That one's totally on me, not you, Corn. So
well, that's good to know. It's good to know that you're human, and it is Monday, and things happen on a Monday. You're gonna have Monday issues that ordinarily you would not have. That's
By
okay.
the way, before
we forgive you, and that's another mistake. As we go to the break,
for pushing the button, I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The Biden administration is not interested in a no-fly zone over Ukraine. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Ukraine's president wants NATO and the United States to create and enforce a military no-fly zone over Ukraine. But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says that would require direct engagement of the U.S. military and would be
potentially direct conflict and potentially war with Russia, which is something we are not planning to be a part of.
President Biden has pledged not to send U.S. troops into combat in Ukraine. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Meanwhile, talks on the invasion of Ukraine have yielded no breakthroughs as Russian troops draw closer to Kiev. Correspondent Jennifer King has more.
Pleas for peace in Ukraine dominated an emergency session at the United Nations, while hours of diplomatic talks between Ukrainian and Russian officials in Belarus ended without agreement. Both sides said they would try again soon. As blasts were heard in Kyiv, Ukraine is seeking a ceasefire and the complete withdrawal of Russian forces. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced he has signed Ukraine's application to join the European Union. It's a mostly symbolic act that normally takes years to achieve, and his country hasn't met the required benchmarks, but it signals a desire to draw closer to European allies. For their part, the 27-member EU bloc voted to provide aid and weapons to Ukraine, and EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says officials have been meeting to figure out how to organize the flow of support, which they say will be coordinated with NATO.
They need defensive purpose arms of any kind, and we are going to provide them.
I'm Jennifer King.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 166 points, the Nasdaq rose 56, the S&P 500 lower by 10. Oil continued its climb up $4.13 to 95.72 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Are you ready to retire? Inflation is picking up, the markets are volatile, and the dream of a comfortable retirement is harder to attain than ever before. The stock market goes up and down is beyond your control, but you're at a point in your life where you can't afford to make big financial mistakes. I'm Al Avaroa, founder of Knight Strategic Wealth. Our investment strategy allows you to go up with the stock market, lock in your gains, and when the stock market goes down, your investment won't lose a dime. This works for your investments, savings at a brokerage firm, or even money at a bank. It's simple, it's safe, and that's why savvy investors work with us. Want to learn more? Text FREE to 833-898-0500, and we'll send our retirement readiness kit directly to your phone right now. If you want to help build a retirement portfolio that will go up with the market and literally never lose money, get our retirement readiness kit today and see how this strategy can help secure your future. Text FREE to 833-898-0500. Text FREE to 833-898-0500.
Fences are going back up around the U.S. Capitol in Washington.
The plan is to reinstall the barriers that had stood for months after the January 2021 riot. This time it's for President Biden's State of the Union address on Tuesday. It comes as concern grows about potential demonstrations or truck convoys protesting pandemic restrictions snarling traffic in the nation's capital. The Pentagon's already approved the deployment of 700 unarmed National Guard troops to be used to assist with traffic control. Rhonda Rockster reporting.
Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation says equipment to use SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet service have arrived in the country. He thanked SpaceX founder Elon Musk for the equipment in a Twitter post today that was accompanied by a photo of boxes on the back of a truck. Musk replied with his own tweet saying, "You are most welcome." The tech billionaire said over the weekend that Starlink was now active in Ukraine. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Another week of very warm temps as we climb to the upper 80s by the weekend. Overnight will be clear with a low of 35. Tomorrow, more sunshine and 68 the high. Wednesday, it's the upper 70s. By Thursday, we're into the low 80s. For the weekend, mid to upper 80s and no rain until maybe Sunday. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, back we are, Sports Talk Media Network, here on this Monday night of mistakes. A Monday night full of mistakes. Can anybody do a mistake-free show tonight here on Sports Talk? Smitty's home sleeping. Bergie's in an airplane. Pat and I are in a stupor, apparently. But we're going to battle our way through it, right? This is the backside. We've made the turn. We had a rough front nine, and now we're going to the backside.
That's right. It's a brand new nine. Clean beginnings here.
Clean and green. Speaking of golf, I did want to mention the performance today of the Corn. And once again, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am the self-appointed golf media bad boy of South Carolina. Self-appointed. I'm not saying anybody else believes that. I'm saying self-appointed, self-anointed. Had some really good shots today. Really good shots. Just didn't have. We got to turn your mind. That's another mistake.
Nobody would have ever known if you hadn't called me out. I just want to know how you did on number 8. That's what I'm waiting to hear from your scorecard. That dog leg left. That
believe it or not, number 8. That's a par 4. We played it 405 yards today. Got a nice little bogey out of it.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's actually historically for the Heritage. That's one of the higher scoring holes.
It's the number 1 handicap on the course.
Yeah, wow.
Number 1 handicap hole. And the Corn bogeyed it. It's a claim. And I played by the rules. Okay, only lost 2 balls. There was 1 ball. So I hit 1 ball in one of the ponds. I think it was on the backside, and it might have been the front side. Anyway, we have caddies. We had a caddy, 1 caddy for all of us. Great guy, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, if you're listening, he probably isn't. I didn't tell him what I do. So, but you could see the ball, and it was just barely in the water off the little beach there. And but you know what you have to be careful of at Harbortown?
Alligators.
Exactly. And I walked over there, and I was going to use – I don't have a little retrieving thing. I just was going to use one of my clubs to bring it back. And I said, Jimmy, you think there's any alligator or gators living in there? And he goes, oh, yeah. And I immediately did, started backing up, because and it was dark. And you could see that right where the ball was, clear water, and then it got immediately dark. And I just envisioned myself, walking down there, trying to get the daggone ball, and all of a sudden, one of those gators coming out of the dark part of the water and, taking my arm off, But he got it. Jimmy went down there and got it.
So I think my entire generation, I feel confident speaking for, we all were scarred and terrified to ever reach for a golf ball because of the Adam Sandler movie Happy Gilmore, which I also think has a lot to do with the famous number 16 hole out in Phoenix at the Phoenix Open, and just how raucous of a crowd that is. The closest thing we have to a real life Happy Gilmore situation.
Yeah.
But his caddy and Coach Chubbs in the movie reached his hand into an alligator's mouth while he was playing, had his hand bitten off, and so throughout the movie has a prosthetic hand. That left me terrified. If I lose a ball or have a ball anywhere close to any kind of water when I'm playing golf, see ya. That's fine.
Well, I've seen too many stories of these alligators attacking people on golf courses to do something like that. Speaking of golf, Darius Rutger is hosting his women's intercollegiate at Long Creek at Hilton Head. He was playing Harbortown this morning when we were. He came driving through us in a golf cart and was getting ahead of us for some reason. But his golf tournament began today over at Long Cove Club. Oh, there's another. Mark it down. Long Cove Club. Yes, Pat and I are keeping up with our errors tonight just to beat each other up. So your leader is Baylor at 3 over. Texas is 5 over. Alabama is 6 over. And Wake 7 over. LSU 7 over. That's your top 5. Furman tied for 10th at plus 12. USC tied for 16th at plus 19. That would be tied for last. USC and Kentucky. USC's ranked number 4, and they had a terrible day. Plus 19, tied for last. And the individual leader is Furman's own Anna Morgan at 2 under 69. Best score for USC was turned in by K. It would be somebody with a lot of letters. Warapicha Anudits. Warapicha Anudits. And I know that's not even close to being right. Plus 273 for her. Matilda Clarissa had a 3 over 74. So USC women ranked very high and having a pretty good season early on, but not a good day today for them down at Hilton Head.
And Corn, the Golf Channel will be exclusively carrying this tournament. It's the first all-women's regular season college event to be showcased live. So you can watch it for listeners out there interested on the Golf Channel Monday through Wednesday. So tomorrow and Wednesday, you still have 2 more opportunities from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
One other big piece of news about Hilton Head. Did you hear this?
No.
I did not know this till I got down there. No more tolls.
Really?
The Cross Island Parkway, Cross Island Expressway, Cross Island Parkway. They've done away with the tolls because they've paid for the bridge. And so they've ended the tolls. Now, the toll station is still there. There's a plan to tear it down. So there's a big sign that says no tolls, do not stop. But you still have to drive through it. But, yeah, there are no tolls going over that bridge anymore, that connector, which was a great. Now, you talk about a very useful use of state and federal highway money and building that little road so you didn't have to go all the way down the throat of Hilton Head to get to Harbortown. You could cut right over and get to Sea Pines and Harbortown. It's been paid for, though, so that's nice. All right, back to the phones we go, and it is going to be Tiger Bryan in Lancaster, who I guess on his many visits to Harbortown must have tipped heavily so that money would help pay for that bridge and get rid of the tolls. Tiger Bryan, thank you for doing that, so we appreciate it.
Hey, you know I share the love, Corn. Hey, I will tell you what. Hey, I've listened to y'all for a long, long time, and I got to give y'all kudos about y'all. You making mistakes tonight.
You mean kudos? You mean kudos?
Kudos, yeah.
All right, that's a mistake. We got Tiger Bryan. That's one for you.
You're on the board, Tiger Bryan.
You're on the board.
Hey, look, y'all own it. Hey, but look, I've been listening to y'all a long time. Hey, there ain't many mistakes y'all made. So y'all giving a bogey on me. What they call it on golf?
Mulligan.
That's 2,
Mulligan.
Tiger Bryan.
I'll give you a couple mulligans. Hey, but hey, when I play golf, it's on Father's Day. My kids, my 2 boys, we play once a year. And I learned the last few years I need to go practice at the driving range a few times before they come. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't be doing no. I be driving that golf cart. I be driving a golf cart. The old man too lazy to be walking there.
I understand.
But yeah, let me ask you something about our defense on Clemson. Let's get to the damn Clemson defense this year.
That's right, because Clemson begins spring practice on Wednesday.
I know they do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me say, I don't want them to come out with no Power Rangers or nothing like they did before when we was so good, because I don't want them to jinx them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we them days is over for Power Ranger stuff.
I don't know. I mean, the front 6 or 7 or 8 for Clemson looks pretty salty to me. Maybe even 9 deep.
But back then they didn't have a full Power Ranger.
I'm not saying that these guys are individually as talented as those guys, but as a group, and considering the experience they got last year because of injury, I mean, Tyler Davis, Brian Brisset in the middle, backed up by Trey Williams and Rook Orhor, and backed up by Edinosa Rubin and DeMonte Capehart. And then you got Peyton Page in there as well. And then your ends, Xavier Thomas and Maskell and Henry and Murphy and Kevin Swint and Cade Denhoff. I would say right now, Clemson's got the best. I think they've got the best, deepest front four, maybe in the country. I'm not going to say absolute because I don't know everybody's Ohio State's, and I think Georgia lost some off of their front group. They were so dominant last season. They lost some. They will lose some off of their group. Some of the other Alabama. I mean, again, I think Clemson's is as good, if not better, than anybody else in the country in their front four and their depth.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, guys. I appreciate what y'all do. I enjoy it. Hey, y'all own it tonight, and I own mine. I made a couple mistakes myself.
We're all human, my friend. We're all human.
That's right. Hey, I told Pat, I said, when I make a mistake with my wife, when I get in the doghouse, I make a real bad mistake. You know what I mean?
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yet, no, you ain't no happy wife, happy life at my house.
There you go. We appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Y'all have a good night, man. I enjoy it.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you, Tiger Brian. Let's go to Bobby and Casey next up here on Sports Talk. Bobby, welcome in. How are you?
Hello, Phil. Hello, Pat. How you doing?
We're good. Good to have you with us.
Okay. Big baseball news today, and I knew it was going to happen. Derek Jeter acted like a businessman and resigned as the CEO of the Miami Marlins instead of a baseball man. I'm waiting on some calls from some people in Miami to find out what it was, but evidently it was philosophical differences with the ownership. But the guy figure, I can read into it that it must have been on spending money he didn't have because he did invest and buy part of the Marlins he was the head of leadership group. But I figure if they didn't want to spend the money, that stadium's empty. It was a boondoggle to build that dome stadium by where the Orange Bowl used to be. So today he stepped down as the CEO, and I'm glad because I'm a Yankees fan long before I was a Marlins fan, and it's tough to make a buck in Major League Baseball in that town. So he stepped down today, and I'm glad for him.
Yeah.
Evidently he had enough, and he said, "Hey, that's it. I'm out of here."
Yeah.
He acted like a businessman because he threw a lot of his money playing for the Yankees into that team, and it was a bottomless pit.
I wonder if he has any interest in doing something with the Yankees in some capacity.
I'm sure it's coming. Hal Steinbrenner, the Prime family will probably welcome him back with open arms.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I don't think he wants to manage. I don't think he wants to be a manager or anything like that, a coach or a manager.
Front office, but I knew eventually, probably because the Marlins just weren't making money in that town. He would probably eventually leave soon. So soon in 5 years. So that's the big baseball news, Phil. I know you're out on the golf course, but good luck to the Marlins. They should just plan on picking up that stadium and moving it out of downtown Miami, essentially.
All right, so thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't want people to think I play golf every day. I just played golf, today. And let's see, I did play golf a couple of weekends ago. I did spend 8 hours in the USC baseball press box on Saturday, okay? That's a punishment, worse than death. Nothing against the Gamecocks. I'm just saying, watching 2 college baseball games against George Washington on a beautiful Saturday for a total of 8 hours, I deserved a golf outing today.
Should have moved on out to the bleachers. Caught yourself a little tan if you're out there for 2 games.
Well, I was working. I was, plotting pitches and watching tendencies and, checking on bat speeds and the velo. I was checking velo exit and apex. I was big on apex and velo exit. And distance, how far the ball was traveling, things like that. Things that are important in baseball.
That's the beauty of a laptop, Wi-Fi, and a smartphone. You can sit wherever you like.
There you go.
And hey, to Bobby, as a Braves fan, we are all very, very grateful to the Marlins and to Derek Jeter for that deadline trade where they sent Adam Duvall from the Marlins to Atlanta in exchange for reserve catcher Alex Jackson, as Adam Duvall was integral to that World Series run. So thank you to him, especially after all the butt kickings he provided when he was with the Yankees, especially in the 90s.
I want to go to that piece with Stuart Sink. We're going to hold the break over. Let's do that, Pat. I want to go to that piece with Stuart Sink and get that in before Steve Wilmot joins us at the bottom of the hour. So Stuart Sink, defending champion, 3-time winner, RBC Heritage, was on hand today for the little media day that we had, and we had a group gather around him to do a little quick Q&A, and he was asked first about coming back to Harbor Town as a champion once again.
Every time I drive through the traffic circle up there, I just feel so at home. I've been playing here a long time, and I've had some good successes, and it just, all the memories of competing and being here with the family and some friends come down. It's a real pleasurable part of the year for us.
It's interesting. You said you won't remember a lot of the shots. How many of the memories with Reagan will you remember when you get out to a hole where something you might have had a particular conversation last year that will bounce back in?
Well, we had those kind of conversations every week, just about all over the place. So a lot of those kind of blend together. But the thing I remember mostly about him last year is when the way he was playing off of the crowd on the 18th hole. Once I birdied 17 and pretty much made it impossible to lose. So we got to walk up that 18th hole with a big lead, and that's something that you just don't get to do very often. That's only the third time that's happened in my career. One at the British Open in the playoff where I had a big lead on 18, and the other one was at Firestone in 2004 where I had a big lead on the last hole, and then last year. So to be able to share that rare occurrence with my son, which is also should be a rare occurrence, doesn't happen very often. It was just a culmination and sort of a collision of a lot of different factors, and so that's what I think of as him, like fist up in the air, talking to the people over in the crowd, and my wife and my son and his fiance were there.
What was your initial reaction when you saw the story about Phil Mickelson and everything that blew up there? What went through your mind first?
Well, Phil has the interests of the players and that's at the forefront of his mind, and he is not afraid to leverage things. He's done it in the past. He's not afraid to leverage things to get the tour to respond to that. And in this case, I don't know what Phil is feeling right now, but it's he might have probably pushed it a little too far this time, and people kind of like took a step back from it. But overall, I still think what he meant to do, he was just trying to improve things for the players. He's trying to become like the player's advocate, self-appointed. And I think everybody appreciates that he's not afraid to leverage things, and he's got, a lot of guts to go out in the media and do stuff like that. And it doesn't always work out like he probably envisioned it. And this might be one of those times.
Yeah. Considering how some of his sponsors reacted by dropping him, do you think to yourself, boy, I have to really watch what I say and the questions I answer and how I answer them because of the pressure that sponsors can put on you?
That's something I've always thought about. So what Phil has done hasn't changed my thinking on that one bit. I mean, I'm not guarded, but I'm not a leverager either. So I don't feel like I don't put myself in danger of getting myself on the wrong side with my sponsors. I just try to be myself, and I feel like the PGA Tour does an excellent job at what they do, and they own our media rights. Yes. And I think they're just amazing custodians of our media rights because they use it. Speaking of leveraging, that's how they get purses as high as the purse at the RBC Heritage and other really wonderful golf events. So I don't feel like anything's changed with me and my sponsors. I'm not careful, but I don't feel like I really need to be. Then again, I'm not talking to the same number of people that Phil Mickelson is. When he says anything, there's a lot of people listening to him, and maybe if I win a few more times, I'll get into that league, but I got a long way to go to catch Phil.
When the talk of the Saudi tour came out, did that interest you at all?
Well, I think just professionally, I had no choice except to consider what was going on. I was never approached or called or contacted in any way about it. So I did hear a comment, I think it was Phil, that said that he can guarantee that every player in the top 100 had been contacted. Well, I can guarantee that wasn't the case because I'm in the top 100 and wasn't contacted. So I don't really know the nuts and bolts. At my stage in my career, I'm, something like that, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, if guys want to go and play somewhere else because they think the PGA Tour is not giving them enough, then go ahead. I mean, golf is going to be golf, and we're going to make new stars for the ones that leave. And I firmly believe that is true. But I didn't just dismiss it out of hand, but it really was pretty much irrelevant to me.
For you, Stuart Sink, the PGA Tour, good enough? You feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
I think they do almost everything they should be doing. Now, that doesn't say that they can't do things a little bit better, but I've been on the policy board. I don't think Phil's ever been on the policy board. I've been on the policy board. I've been on the PAC. I can't even count how many times I was on the PAC. And I know how it works on the inside. And I don't know everything, but I think the tour does a fabulous job.
Seeing what happened with Phil make you even less likely to even have it as a remote possibility?
I'll just say that it's not even a remote possibility for me. It has nothing to do with Phil. Nothing to do with Phil. I think it's safe to say that it feels like a lot of players have also become of that mind that it's not a remote possibility for them anymore either. I don't know why that is, but something shifted the tide, and it seems like players are now kind of firmly in the camp of the PGA Tour.
Were you able to get out and see the changes that they made?
I haven't been out there.
But
No,
you know what they are.
I didn't know until I was here. Yeah.
John Farrell made an excellent point this morning that they tried not to change the integrity of Harbour Town by making the long holes longer, leaving the short holes along. Knowing what they did, do you think they accomplished that?
I think so. It sounds like they moved the tee back on 2 and on 5, maybe moved it left and back where you have to now shape your shot around instead of just blasting it over the trees like I did last year. So that'll take my shot away. But yeah, it is important to, a golf course like this, it's iconic and it's such a quality place to protect it a little bit. If you got to move the tees back, you got to do what you got to do. And I know they have some really good minds that are custodians of this golf course. And so I have no doubt that they made some really good changes.
Is it more important for a course like Harbour Town or Harbour Town specifically to preserve those shot making qualities?
I think actually here it's less important. And the reason is because the other places have more drastic changes with the weather and the way the turf is. Like here, you're just never going to get a mile roll. And the ball doesn't go that far in the air here this time of year. In the summer it might, but when it's cooler, the ball doesn't go very far here. So this course is a lot longer than its 6,900 or 70, whatever it is. I don't know this. It's a short course, but it doesn't play that short. And so this course just doesn't have the pressure of distance that other courses have, where we can carry it 310 and it's going to get another 40 yards of roll, and you turn a 500-yard hole into a driver and a wedge. Here,
you've got 3 here. In the back of your mind, you're thinking about catching and passing Davis?
Right now in the back of my mind, I'm trying to figure out how to do the best ribs this week in the barbecue contest. After that, I'll probably start thinking about what to do with the players next week. And somewhere way down the list will be what I'm going to do at Harbour Town, at RBC Heritage, because I also have a tournament called the Masters between now and then. So the answer, to be completely honest, is no. I'm not thinking about much about here, except for I know it's going to be fun. I'm anticipating what it's going to be like to have Reagan here again. And Reagan's wife missed last year. They weren't married just yet, so she couldn't come, but she's going to be here this year. And we'll get to experience that as a family again. And so I'll worry about the nuts and bolts of the golf later, but looking forward to the family part.
All right, Stuart Sink comments today to the media on hand for Media Day at the RBC Heritage. We'll have Steve Wilmot, tournament director, coming up at the bottom of the hour to talk more about what's going on there and tickets and plans for having full attendance for the RBC Heritage this year after a couple of years of some reduced attendance because of COVID. Give you some other notes here as we update for you some news notes brought to you by Founders Federal, our Founders Federal notebook. Remember, Founders Federal, right now, mortgage rates remain very, very low, 2.33%, but they'll be climbing up here in the near future, so keep that in mind. So a couple of other notes of interest to pass along that we haven't touched on today. Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall going to receive the 2021 Blanchard Rogers Trophy from the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame at their enshrinement celebration on April 29th up in Greenville. That's the award that goes to the State Player of the Year. So great honor for him. Citadel forward Hayden Brown, the Southern Conference Basketball Player of the Week after averaging a double-double over 3 games last week. Coastal Carolina guard Vince Cole named to the second team of the Sun Belt men's basketball postseason awards. He's had a very good year. And, if he plays well in the tournament, the Chanticleers going to have a chance to win a couple of games and advance their season. All right, hit a break here on Sports Talk. Steve Wilmot coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Another week of very warm temps as we climb to the upper 80s by the weekend. Overnight will be clear with a low of 35. Tomorrow, more sunshine and 68 the high. Wednesday, it's the upper 70s. By Thursday, we're into the low 80s. For the weekend, mid to upper 80s and no rain until maybe Sunday. Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Russia has some of the best hackers in the world, but in the early days of the war in Ukraine, its ability to create mayhem through malware hasn't had much of a noticeable impact. Instead, it's Ukraine that's marshaled sympathetic volunteer hackers in an unprecedented collective global effort to make the Kremlin pay for making war on its neighbor. It's kind of a cyber free-for-all that experts say risks escalating a moment already fraught with extraordinary danger after Russian President Vladimir Putin put his nuclear forces on alert. The kind of devastating cyber attacks thought likely to accompany a large-scale Russian military invasion haven't happened. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 166 points. The Nasdaq rose 56, the S&P 500 declined 10, crude oil up to $95.72 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street downtown.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. So this is the time of year when we try to be responsible and plan out the next 12 months. I'm not good at it either, so let's work on this together. Go and grab your calendar, whether it's on your phone or on your refrigerator. Find your anniversary, your best friend's birthday, your kid's birthday, your spouse's birthday, graduation day, and write in Melting Pot. We're the premier special occasion restaurant in the Midlands, the Melting Pot.
This is Roger Metz.
And this is Taylor Metz, your host of Woods and Water, South Carolina.
Boating and fishing weather is just around the corner, so now's the time to get things ready.
Have your engine serviced now so you don't miss out on the summer fun later.
Check your life jackets for rips or tears because you'll need to replace those before heading out on the water.
Make sure you have all the right size PFDs for your passengers and check your fire extinguisher to make sure it's still charged.
Go ahead and test your air horn, whistle, or horn on the boat too, just not in someone's ear.
Check the SCDNR website for more boating rules and regulations, and have a safe time on the water this year.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
It is the annual base brawl, BRAWL. We coined that phrase, or that word, for the South Carolina Clemson baseball series, beginning on Friday over at Founders Park, and Saturday at Segra Park, and then Sunday up at Doug Kingsmore. Reminder of the big fan fest at Segra Park on Saturday over in the Bull Street district of Columbia, presented by Discover South Carolina. It begins at noon. Gates to Segra Park open at noon. First pitch is at 4. FanFest is free and open to the public. No ticket is required. Food and beverage, including alcohol, will be available for purchase. There'll be 4 local food trucks on hand as well, plus Tokyo Joe will be the band for the event. First set, 12:30, second set at 2:30. An appearance by a Harlem Globetrotter at 2 o'clock. And I will be there as well with my driver putting on a driving display based on what I did today at Harbortown. No, that's just a joke. Nobody wants to see that. You can go to battleatbullstreet.com, battleatbullstreet.com for any questions and to buy tickets. Don't forget the Fan Fest coming up this Saturday beginning at noon at Segra Park in Columbia, leading up to Game 2 of the Base Brawl series. All right, Steve Wilmot joining us, the director of the RBC Heritage, presented by Boeing, ready to roll for another year coming up in April. We were there for the media day today. Thank you so much, sir. It was a great day. We had a blast. The course is in great shape. Looks like we're going to have another fantastic RBC Heritage here in a few weeks.
Phil, thank you so much. And maybe not long drive. Maybe we should have a bunt contest for you, But
that's more like it.
No. You thank you so much for being here with us today. And it's an exciting time. And obviously, you've been supporting us for years. And this tournament, it's always the second full week in April after the Masters. And we're just getting back to get back to norm, and that's what everybody wants out there. And it's been a difficult year for all of us last couple of years, and all of our businesses has been extraordinary times. But the buzz, the excitement, you saw the conditions of the golf course. Sea Pines is committed to that. Our sponsors, our media there today. Thank you. Stuart Sink was in town, and you can tell I'm energized because the vibe, the buzz, and the excitement to get things back on track is getting close.
Had a little drive-by by Darius Rucker on the course as well. He wasn't playing in our event, was he? Was he playing in some other outing?
It was kind of a combination of a couple things. Darius this week has the Darius Rucker Invitational, which is the #1 women's collegiate event in the country. It's being played at Long Cove. It's also being televised today, tomorrow, and Wednesday live. But it was just kind of we had an interesting day. As you know, the media went off at 8:30 shotgun start. Darius had reached out about looking to play around, so we kind of had him mixed behind you guys while we had a sponsor program going on at 11 o'clock with all of our sponsors. And we had a fireside chat with Stuart Sink, who was outstanding. He came in on his own, wanting to be a part of things. He did a ton of social media stuff for us, which we wore him out while he was here, but he was as professional, as gracious as could be. And then when you all finished up, we had a 1 o'clock shotgun start with 100 plus of our sponsors, as we had that media little program that you were a part of, that you saw that Stewart and a few others spoke. And exciting day. We just finished up a reception for our sponsors. Everyone is fully excited, from RBC to certainly to Boeing, our presenting sponsor as well, but also all of our secondary sponsors and partners. So we're gaining on it. Now it's time for us to execute and get ready for April.
Absolutely. The stands are going up around the golf course. As you mentioned, the golf course in great shape. I think our caddy, Jimmy, said it was rolling about a 9 on the greens today. They'll roll about 11.5 for the pros, and they're backing up a couple of the tee boxes on 2 and 5, those par 5s, to make them play a little bit longer. It doesn't seem to phase Stuart Sink. He said, I'll still hit it over the trees, and I'll have a good shot coming in. But, I guess that's – and he gave a great explanation. I think you asked him the question, or maybe it was a member of the media, about the length of the players. Is it the equipment or something else? And he's not saying the equipment or the balls. He's saying it's the athlete. It's the player who's conditioning himself and preparing himself well to play the game, and that's why they're hitting the ball so far.
Yeah, he actually had some really interesting comments. And again, we at times we forget that these guys they're the best in the world at what they do inside the rope. So they know every inch of what's going on out there. But he referenced the fact of why change a lot of things up with maybe distancing back balls for a small percent of people that play golf. Being the professionals. And yes, he even mentioned Bryson DeChambeau hits it a ton, but he says there's not others that necessarily do that. But why effective? Every one of us wants more yards. We don't want less yards. So, but he was spot on with his comments. Your comment about the golf course condition, the growing conditions have been perfect. We've had a very mild winter here, which has led into our build out, being a mild winter and a dry winter that we've had down here. We don't see a lot of the tractors and the bulldozers and a lot of things that are going on out there. I should, say cranes and things that help build out the golf course. So it's really, knock on wood, we're a little bit ahead of the game, but you never know what's ahead of you here. And but Sea Pines' commitment to the best in class in their facilities, they continue to do things to support the tournament. Yes, they've added you mentioned the 2 par 5s on the front side. Number 2 is we're going across the street next to number 1 green, adding about 45 yards there. And then we've gone back about 30 yards on number 5 that kind of takes those trees out of play a little bit on the left-hand side. And then 17, we're going back to what we've done the last 2 years without spectators and limited spectators. This past year, we're going to use that tee box on the right-hand side the way Pete Dye originally had the golf course laid out. So, there's a few little changes out there, and there's only so much you can do with a wonderful golf course that you have, and the players don't want to see too much. And Stewart's excited about the changes that are happening.
Mm-hmm. He certainly was. So, are we back now as far as full attendance and everything else that you guys were doing pre-COVID? Is all that going to be back in 22?
Basically, yes. I mean, the thing that people need to understand too, we are at full build out, and we're full capacity, but our full capacity has really changed over the last couple of years too. If you go back to 2019, Saturday of 2019, we couldn't have gotten another person out on that golf course, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So in us looking at, unfortunately, what happened in 20, you can take off the table. It was a non-spectator event in June. But last year, having limited capacity, that we've we're wanting to enhance the experience. We're limiting some ticket sales in some of the areas, the clubhouse, the Calabogie Club, and all. So we're looking at our full capacity is going to be, 15 to 20% less than what it was in 19, but we're looking at less being more in the fact that the experience, the added value, and the fact that we get, so with less spectators, less lines, hopefully in restrooms, concessions, parking, security, you're still going to have some of that, but we're trying to eliminate more of that as we can so that it is hopefully a best in class and an overall experience for all our spectators.
Looks like you got a bunch of former champions who've committed to come back. And, of course, over the next several weeks, there'll be announcements coming from Angela about who's going to be in the field as players commit. How's it look from where you sit, though, about the field and the quality of the field that you'll have this year?
Actually, I've this came up today with Stuart and a couple people too, is, with us being played in June in 20, a lot of players normally don't play in April with us. So we had a lot of professionals, a lot of the guys that played, and they're like, holy sugar, why don't I play here? Why am I not here? And I can tell you, this is, today kicks off as we always done. We've done past champions. We do, today a defending champion, past champion, and then we'll get into some RBC ambassadors. And I can tell you, we've got some exciting news that we're going to be sharing in the next couple weeks as our field continues to get stronger, but players we also know that will be coming.
Yeah. Well, I won't be participating if that was something you were going to share. I can't make it. I won't be there for that.
Yeah. Well, we're working with some, there is the sponsors exemption side of things that do, that's not easy for any tournament director or any tournaments out there. And
right.
So many guys worthy of spots, and we're limited field. So, with 132 players compared to a full field event. So, there's a lot of guys wanting to get in, and, we certainly, we want those South Carolinian players. We want, whether they're South Carolina, Wofford, Clemson, those local ties. I mean, that's important to the tournament. Nothing against that guy from California, but, we want somebody that, some local flavor, some local flair, that will, obviously help sell some tickets, but also a great story to it as well.
Absolutely. It was a great day today. Thank you for having us out there. Always good seeing you guys. Hopefully we'll see you during the tournament, and we'll talk to you before then as well, just to get an update on everything about the course and the plans and everything going up to your opening ceremonies and stuff like that. So we'll be back in touch, and thank you for being with us tonight. We really enjoyed it.
No, Phil, thank you for most importantly, your friendship, but all your support and all you do for sports in South Carolina as well. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. Steve Wilmot, Tournament Director of the RBC Heritage, presented by Boeing. Probably will have another flyover this year with some beautiful Boeing airliner that was built over in Charleston or finished up in Charleston or whatever they do with it in Charleston. So you can look forward to that as well. All right, let's go to the break. We'll come back with recruiting and comments from Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell as we close out a busy, this Monday night, feels like a Monday, a busy Monday night here on Sports Talk. Coming back after the break. Don't go away.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you. Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
I'll never forget the day I decided to go out for the football team. Mr. Banks, the JV football coach and my history teacher, asked me to stay after class. I thought I was in trouble. He said, "Hey, Darius, have you thought about going out for football? I think you'd be great." Fact is, I never played football. Fact is, I never had anyone tell me I'd be great at something. So, with no experience at all, I signed up. And a week later, I padded up and was running drills on the field. I never was great, but playing high school sports was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I was accepted by my teammates, and I learned that when someone believes in you, you can believe in yourself.
Encourage a student you know to take part in a high school sport. This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Going to give you recruiting in just a moment, but this story from Ben Portnoy of the state newspaper that we just ran across, USC men's tennis team involved in a wreck. They were heading up to NC State Monday, and the university spokesman confirmed to the state the team was involved in a car wreck while driving to Raleigh, and they were in a van scheduled for a match with NC State tomorrow. That match has been canceled, and details of the accident, time, location, any other info related to what happened, not immediately available. The school spokesperson told the state the team was on its way back to Columbia Monday evening. South Carolina men's tennis off to a great start, 11-2, upset Kentucky and Stanford last week at the ITA indoors in Seattle. So, not sure, according to Ben here, if the match will be played, made up or not. So, hopefully everybody's okay. No problems there. Maybe a fender bender or maybe something a little more than that. Doesn't say if they're coming back in the van or just what the deal is, but they had some kind of an accident on the way up there to Raleigh. And now we give you the recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells. Another week of the daily luncheon buffet, Pat. I'm sure today was a delicious day, and people enjoyed their meal for $12 over at Seawells. What do we have on the menu coming up?
Well, first of all, I'm kicking myself for not going today. They had another episode of Roast Beef Friday, but on a Monday.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Tomorrow, though, they'll have carved black oak ham, southern fried chicken, and lasagna, which will be quite a treat as well. And the rest of the week looks great. Celebrating Thanksgiving this Wednesday with carved turkey with cornbread dressing and all the fixins with southern fried chicken, fried flounder. Thursday, my personal favorite, the bacon-wrapped meatloaf, along with southern fried chicken and pulled pork. And rounding out the week, a little bit of RBF with the Roast Beef Friday with fried pork chops and southern fried chicken. And don't forget, they also have salad, all the sides you can handle, and amazing banana pudding.
It's all good for you, and it's all good for you. It's good for you, and it's good for you. Over at Seawells across from State Fairgrounds, the daily luncheon buffet, 11-2, and, of course, the very best in the catering business. Seawells, their phone number, 803-771-7385. USC offered last week Malik Benson, 6'1", 185. Hutchinson Junior College, he's a native of Kansas. Really was the first connection between South Carolina and Benson was the offer and the communication leading right up to it. So it kind of took him a little bit by surprise. Been talking to South Carolina just a little bit leading up to that, Justin Stepp making the offer. And so he was good. He was happy to get that offer from South Carolina. He knows about Deebo Samuel and what he did at USC and what he's doing in the NFL. Georgia, Miami, Kansas State, Baylor, Iowa State, Houston, and Kansas are other offers for him. He doesn't graduate until December, so he's got this season at Hutch. He plans to take his time deciding on visits and deciding on where he's going to end up. Not sure yet if he'll visit South Carolina as he weighs all his options. He was a JUCO All-American last season, 43 catches, 1,229 yards, 11 touchdowns. USC offered 2024 athlete Amon Lane, Alabaster, Alabama. Per his dad, quarterback Dylan Lonergan has locked in a visit to USC for the spring game April 16th. He's also planning to visit Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech as they work around baseball in March and April. USC and Clemson target offensive tackle Olaus Alinen will visit Southern Cal this Saturday. And cornerback Bryce Thornton of Alpharetta, Georgia, plans to visit Clemson on March the 7th. That should be Olanus, O-L-A-N. I left out the N. O-L-A-N-U-S. Olanus Alinen, visiting Southern Cal on Saturday. All right, there you go, with the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. Here's some comments from Clemson basketball coach Brad Brownell. ACC conference call this morning, talking about the win over BC and getting ready for these last two home games.
Love the way Chase has played last week. I mean, he was very efficient. I think his confidence is growing, as you would expect for a guy who's playing as well as he is, and a guy who hasn't played quite as much, and then all of a sudden starts to have a little success. That's been great to see. Tremendous growth. It's critical. And in terms of Hunter and PJ, I don't know yet. Same thing, PJ won't practice today. He never practiced 2 days before. Is there a chance he could practice a little bit Tuesday and play Wednesday? Possibly. I don't know. Hunter's going to try to do some stuff today for the first time, physically, in terms of like competing 5-on-5. So we'll have to see how that goes for a couple days. There's a chance maybe he could play Wednesday. It's not guaranteed at all. Maybe more likely for the weekend, hopefully, if things go well this week. Just have to wait and see.
Morning, Brad. Coach Grant just mentioned the idea that sometimes when a star player or a key player goes down, your other guys kind of level up. They know they need to give a little more. Have you seen that as you've dealt with these injuries?
A little bit. I think as much as anything, other guys are going to get more. Like my freshmen are getting more playing time. So we're starting Ben Middlebrooks and Ian Shefflin. So their minutes are way up. I think most of Nas Bohannon's minutes are way up because, we're down 2 post players. So those guys are naturally got to fill those minutes. My guards, I think their minutes are about the same. Certainly Chase has played better. Al's had a nice couple of weeks here. Even I think Nick's played pretty well here the last week or so. I think there's just more shots available, right? I mean, guys have more opportunities to score and do some things that way. Obviously, the young guys, they're getting more opportunities to rebound, defend, do it all. And I do think there's a little bit of, an initial thrust there where excitement and, it's not as easy for opponents maybe to prepare because they're not exactly sure what's going on, who's playing, and then everybody kind of settles in a little bit. But I do think our guys have done a great job. We had an incredible week last week. And really, it goes back to the Louisville game. Even the Louisville game we lost, PJ basically got hurt in the first minute. So we didn't really play with PJ in that game. And I think our guys really handled that situation well because it handled, you had to do it without practicing. And we were still able to take that game down to the last couple minutes with a chance to win. So just really proud of our group, the way they've hung in here these last 3 games and dealt with difficult circumstances.
And one more for me. We're getting to the point where we start selecting, a player of the year, and everybody has their own criteria for what they're looking for. I'm curious, from your personal experience this year, has there been one player that for you was matchup nightmare or really stood out as, takeover? Who kind of comes to mind when I say that?
Well, Banchero made a couple of big plays in our game when we lost by them at 2 at their place. He made 2 big baskets down the stretch. Alondas Williams maybe didn't play. He was in a little bit of foul trouble here, didn't play quite as well as I know he can. But watching him on film, an incredible year. I think obviously winning matters when you're voting for MVPs and first team all league guys. I think your team winning is a significant factor that sometimes is just as important as guys, score a couple more points or get another rebound or 2 a game.
All right, Brad Brownell, Hofstra leading College of Charleston at the half, 42-31. North Carolina over Syracuse, 41-36 at the half. That'll do it. Thank God it's over. Pat, have a great night. Everybody else do the same. See you tomorrow.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.